Good evening. We find ourselves resuming where we left off. In my head, flashbanging chat was a funnier prank than I think it ended up actually being, but here we are. Also, I think I accidentally made my tracking way better when I was working on my newer model. And I was like, well, may as well apply to the original one. The St. Rainbow Six, I actually went and double-checked the category just in case I said it wrong. Anyway, I see that there's like an enemy here, so I'm gonna go kill him. I'm not sure if that's procedural or that's just how this goes, but here we are. And if I can't blow up the planet, I can at least commit genocide. I can have a little genocide as a treat, I think. Ow. Now, is this not the planet that I just came from? I'm pretty sure it is. But like, if there's a guy here, then I want to kill him. I believe I need the magma for that one. Secreted magma. Which I presume is the magma, but can't actually be certain. So yeah, I'm looking for weird green lad. Because if I can't remember your name, you get a nickname. Actually, hold on. I forgot that I had this thing. Are a couple of doors here that I never went through. It seems like a good number of them require a weapon that I don't have. Wait, this was the that was the ball maze, wasn't it? In which case, that door that's in the middle is not one that I haven't been through, it's the one from the middle of the maze. And I probably shouldn't bother coming back here until I get, like, a new cannon. Excellent talk. This is fine. It still throws me off just a little that, like, the way that you jump is to double tap on the touchscreen. Like, it's not unreasonable, it's just throwing me off a little bit. But I think actually, the touchscreen being a thing throwing me off, kind of like in a more general sense, is kind of in my favor. Because it means I'm not distracted by a bunch of things that work the way I expect them to, if that makes sense. Like, because everything is so different, I'm already thinking everything through. I will come back to kill that guy later when I've got a weapon that can find him. Oh, looks like the enemy re-rolled, so I guess I can just go back for rematches when I feel like it. Which makes sense, I suppose. kinda cool, actually. Vesper Defense Outpost. Now, are the Vespers doing the defending, or are the Vespers being defended? Oh, also, before stream started, Zurian, thank you so much for the resub, I appreciate it. Yeah, no, it's been almost 2 years since we hit a billion, that's crazy. Also, thank you for the hydration. Wait, this isn't the ice planet, why does it have ice physics? BDO, Vesper Defense Outpost, is situated on the outer edge of Olympic territory, serving as a refueling station and munitions dump. Sub-zero temperature is maintained to prevent overheating of fusion-powered weapon systems. Structural failure of fuel containers has resulted in a vast radioactive spill into space, leaving toxic and explosive fuel frozen to the sides of the structures. You know, the notification on my end says you resubscribed for 24 months at Tier 1. They've been subscribed for 22 months. So yeah, it's almost been 2 years. It amuses me just a little bit that I went from an ice planet to an ice satellite, but here we are. Olympic Turret V1.4. This modified turret is capable of rapid-fire operation with little or no overheating. I mean, if it's not overheating, is that because the turret's better, or because you installed it in a Sub-Zero installation? That'd be like me being born 8 feet tall and then taking credit for, coming up with new strategies to be good at basketball. Looks like a missile expansion. There we go. That's actually way easier to do with the side profile. I can see the shockwaves a lot easier. That looks a little bit glorpy. This looks important. Analysis indicates force field impervious to most weapons. A heavy-duty weapon may damage the guard mode. Vortex chamber controls the entire neural ensemble by processing input by the thalamic coil. Spectral lock 3 deactivated. Spectral lock 4 deactivated. 1 and 2 deactivated. I found it. I found the neural network. Now I can kill AI once and for all. It's attempting to placate me with bribery. And unfortunately, it's working. Battle Hammer is powered by a miniature nuclear reactor. This heavy-duty repeater is recommended only for those familiar with high-caliber weaponry. I am the perfect user. You live another day, AI. You live another day, I. Now, if memory serves, the very first level had some locks that could only be opened if I could open green doors, which I now can. What's your shtick? Ow. What's your shtick? Secabit V4. Cryogenic nanotechnology enables this advanced Metroid to freeze prey with supercooled plasma. Oh, sorry. Please stop freezing me. How do I get at you? Probably from above or below. Oh, it's a force field. Is there anything up top that I can scan through? The ground? Oh. That looks like a switch. I probably had to activate it from above, though. I'm still just a little bit blown away by this game being on the original Nintendo DS. Like, it wasn't a bad console by any stretch, quite the opposite. I just, in my head, I didn't think it capable of 3D graphics. Crash Pillar. Highly pleasing to Olympic aesthetics, this century cyborg is dormant until it senses an intruder and returns to a dormant state once the threat retreats. The Crash Pillar levitates by means of anti-gravity propulsion before attempting to smash its quarry. Vulnerable neurocircuitry is housed underneath the base. It's gonna try and smash, but it's vulnerable from below. Good to know. I should probably be using missiles for this, never mind. Red was plasma, I think? Precision weapons with Zoom, so that's the sniper one. Alright. I really should be making notes of like which doors I'm encountering where. With that, I can get back to my ship pretty quickly. Technically, I could leave, use the battle hammer to get stuff from other levels, and then come back. Oh, hello there. You look kind of like you have a Unit 01. Silex. This hunter's power suit appears to be based on a Federation prototype and possesses extraordinary offensive and defensive capabilities. Silex's weapon is the Shock Coil, a banned technology that fires charged blasts of high-energy neutrinos. Okay, it's intimidating, but it's not actually doing all that much damage. Him bouncing around all over the place is more annoying. Wait, is this not regenerating? Is he siphoning my energy? He's kind of, I wouldn't say smug, more just like, in a diagnostic sense. Oh, there we go. I had exactly as much ammo as I needed. Like, if he was doing, like, 10 times as much damage, I'd be more worried. Instead, it's like, okay, I've got plenty of time to chase him down and kill him. Good thing I don't have a medical license. I've got, like, 75% of one. Admittedly, I then dropped out, but, like... Oh, that thing's cool. I want that. I want my gunship to help me fight things. And he's dead. Silux, more like Bylux. Yoink. Where's the thing that he dropped? Or I guess that must not be in the same area. It must be for elsewhere. Here we are. First artifact discovered. I may or may not, I may or may not need to come back with, what's-his-face's weapon. I'm not sure yet. I might have already left, if not for the fact that every planet so far, I've been able to flow clear without leaving. But then it is a Metroid game, so like I would expect everything to have at least a second visit. I'm going to go to the first level. Because I remember there being some green doors there. I wonder if I can like check the maps for other maps while I'm not present on them. You know, I do not at all mind getting lost in a Metroid game. It's the best part. I like exploring. Being like, okay, I have new keys. Which doors do they open? And I wake up, it's Kingdom Hearts. It's like, oh no. Oh, hi there. Spire was like, speedrun time, and I was like, yes, I agree. I could have sworn that there were doors here that needed... There they are. Needed the battle hammer to open. This game is also reminding me a little bit of the Dark Forces games for Star Wars. Part of it, I think, is just that they're like a crunchy sci-fi first-person shooter by today's standards. But also the vibe is kind of reminiscent. Well, it tried. You defeated the Pumpkin Moon like a boss? Nice. Now the Saiyans can't use their Uzaru transformations anymore. Alright. Let me in, please and thank you. Personal capacity increased. Very nice. I like how these all technically count as one secret, going by the jingle. Anyway, is that? Or is there more? Looks like there might technically be something up here if I can get whichever weapon opens yellow doors. But I don't have that weapon, so... I suppose I'll just check out another planet. There is a non-zero chance that I just missed something on the outpost. But like worst case scenario, I'm going around and I'm like finding things, so I think that's not a bad thing. Wishing they'd remaster and re-release this game. Now that I've played it, they probably might. It tends to be how things go. Not that button. Thankfully, they color-coded them so that I would hit the wrong one every time. Alright, let's see here. I do have the adjudicator, so I can open that now. So I think I will. Oh, there's fire. Give me your gun, please. And he's dead. There's a bunch of yellow doors down there too, but I don't have the stuff to open those. I make it look easy. Is it not easy? Just kind of point at their faces and then they die. It's... fine. Oh, there he goes as well. Yoink. Well, this is a fancy visual. Hello? Olympic Cannon 03. Hold on. Oh, I can't leave. Hold on. After trapping Goria in the Seal Sphere, we consigned it to a prison from which there could be no escape. is this where I... This must be where I placed the octoliths. 8 octoliths are required to power this room. Alrighty. Olympic Cannon 2. This device opened the Infinity Void to imprison Goria. Reuniting 8 octoliths will return power to this dormant machine. The Olympic Cannon enabled us to open the Infinity Void and hide Goria's prison within it. By locating the prison in an alternate dimension, we ensured that the prisoner would neither escape nor be released by accident. The Olympic Cannon issues bursts of polarized antimatter beyond light speed. That's not how physics works. At specified coordinates and frequency to open a dimensional rift known as the Infinity Void. Well, it is very fancy, if nothing else. Looks like that wasn't actually the purple door that I... Hello? Oh, hi. Looks like that wasn't actually the purple door that I was aiming for. But it was nonetheless very useful to find. Just kinda hanging out on the second planet. Like, alright. I'm game. Okay, so the door I'm after is up there. Too far away to scan that. Is there some cheeky... Oh no. Is there some cheeky way up top? Is where my head's at now. Yoink. I will happily take more missiles, thank you. Hello there. What if I were to do this? Oh, hello. Not gonna lie, I did not expect that to work. Who needs the gravity suit? Does this game even have the gravity suit? Oh dear. Okay, one bomb is all it takes. Good to know. We'll take a UA expansion. Yeah, I could see myself potentially beating Prime Hunters without taking damage, just not while getting us along the way. Well, that sure was a thing that happened. I straight up did not expect that, I'm not gonna lie. I was like, oh, I'll jump in here, it'll be silly. And it worked. Gotta get up there somehow. What if I'm like meant to open it from the other side somehow? Magma drop, that room is called. And then this one's actually called the High Ground. So Obi-Wan was here. How do we get over there? That's what's on my head right now. The platform has been activated. I mean, I think there's technically a sequence in Dread where you can sequence break if you go through like a lava room without the gravity suit. But it's not mandatory. How was I supposed to get up here? Oh. Oh, I just keep going around. Okay. Varia? I don't think Varia protects from lava, does it? Like high temperatures, yes, but like direct contact exposure to lava? Alright, what might be found in here? Red barbed war wasp. One of the most aggressive varieties of wasp, the red barbed war wasp uses body heat to generate an igneous projectile. Oh shoot, it's Silex! Once again, aura farming. I am reminded heavily of Magmore. Mostly because of the magma, but still. burns my toes. Shoot. My jumping's a little bit jank right now, but in my defense, in order to jump, I have to double tap on the touchscreen. It's not quite as smooth as other games you might be inclined to compare this to. Are the platforms not synced up with each other? Or are they just on like a weird clock? Well, that was one way. I sure hope it was the right one. Sure looks like it. That'll be how I get back. Silex should be through here. He just flew over. Why couldn't I just fly over? He doesn't land his ship and just beams himself down, so his ship is better than mine too. Mine can't do that. Okay, -1 Guardian. Thought you could sneak up on me. And a step. I'm a little bit disoriented. Just a smidge. Is this where he came from? No way to tell. Alright. I don't think it is. Oh, rude. Why? Fire Spawn. A large creature that thrives on extreme heat, the Fire Spawn breathes superheated lava and never ventures far from its home pit. This creature is particularly unfriendly to carbon-based life forms and will hurl fireballs at anything approaching its territory. Isn't this thing like a super cool plasma weapon? Can I Mega Man in this? Oh. I exploded. Yeah, that thing kinda just evaporated all of my health at once. In my defense, I was trying to get out of the lava and it kept, like, dragging me back in. Anyway. Enemy health bars only scan enemy until they scan them. Oh, that is a cool detail. I like that. I don't have a lot of room to maneuver here. I do suspect that I'll get a weapon for killing this thing, though. I think I'll give it one more shot and then I'll take a break. Like a 5-minute one, not like an extended one. Can I move to like a better vantage point? Yes, I can. Where fire spawn? Where fire spawn? It amuses me slightly that this presumable mid-boss is way more of a threat than like any of the Octolith bosses have been so far. And it's dead. And that looks like a weapon. Magma, powered by a hyperstatic hydrogen core, fires cohesive projectiles of superheated magma. That sounds like a thing that I want. Give. I like how it's like a bouncy ball. Anyway, we're gonna take a 5-minute break here. Please use this time to refill your beverage, go to the bathroom, anything that would take you about 5 minutes. I will see you shortly. I return. Okay, so I just got the magma. And... it's called the Council Chamber. That amuses me slightly. Like the Council will decide your fate. Hi. Oh, this thing is immune. Are they, like, immune to whichever weapon that they themselves use? That's kind of cool if so. You having fun in there? That Guardian seemed relatively tough. Nearby force field has been deactivated. I keep expecting these, like, glyphs to be... Never mind, I was gonna say I keep expecting these glyphs to be readable, but then this one actually was. Olympic War 7. We knew that if we did not stop Gorea, it would rampage across the galaxy, devouring everything in its path. Seems as good a reason to any to stop something. Shriek that, a winged creature that explodes on contact to defend its territory. It will attack any creature approaching its nesting grounds. Inhabitants of Talon 4 have called for its extermination because of the threat it poses to the infrastructure and cultural heritage of the planet. Talon 4 doesn't really have inhabitants anymore, so... Olympic Pride. Those who survived appeared lifeless and hollow, as if their very spirits had been sucked dry. I'm getting like half of the story here, I feel like. Magma Voltrum. Another modification of Voltrum technology, its high operating temperature causes reduced defensive capability against sub-zero weaponry. Oh, and I mentioned that these ones are like the opposite. Ice Voltrum, a late advance in Voltrum technology featuring freezing projectiles. Its pulse tube cryocoolers are extremely susceptible to high temperature impact. Ship deck portal activated. Nearby force field has been deactivated. Oh, rude. Oh, there's an artifact up there. How do I get up there now? Is there like a boost pad thing down there? Yes, there is. Alrighty then. Didn't I already have an artifact kind of like that? Or not? Alright. Or maybe there are 2 sets of artifacts per planet? That would make sense. Anyway, magma I'll get. That's the icy one, and I think that this one actually did have magma doors, so... This is probably where I want to be right now. Then if I can get the sniper rifle, I can go and open that one door on the space station. No, magma doors are orange, these ones are red, so that's the sniper actually. Thank goodness for color coding. Maybe I should go double check that space station. There are only 4 places I can go. I've got to find the right one eventually. Here's the red door I was looking at earlier. A whole bunch of gray doors. Huh. Not sure if I'm overlooking something, or... if I gotta find something that just isn't on a map. It might just not be on a map. That's very much an option. I think I'll stick my nose back in here just in case, and if not, I'll go back to the space station. And see if I can poke around a bit more, because I feel like I didn't find everything I could have. Okay, need an electric gun for that one. There were also a bunch of electric doors on... the planet with the gate on it. I did see Silex flying above, but I never actually encountered Silex before I left the other planet. So maybe I've got to find him there. I think I'm gonna poke around the space station a bit more. The defense outpost, rather. It's also not showing any hunters here as far as I can tell, so... maybe that means that there's like story stuff here still? Or like rather first trip stuff here? What's this thing? Fuel rod powers nearby bioweaponry chambers. Used to grow bioweaponry, systems inoperative. Okay, I need to try very hard to not get lost. Which for me is very much easier said than done. There's this thing here, so if I can find a key to open it, then that would be nice. Weird little alcove here. There we go. I just never dropped down here. And then the platform left without me. Imagine if I shot the ice and successfully broke it and it just got sucked out into the vacuum of space. And it's like, well, game over. Yeah, I don't think that one by itself is going to accomplish much. But perhaps I can find other stuff that'll help. Okay, so that's just a big circle. This is the middle room where I fought Silas. I know that I've already been through here. Silex, whatever. Cy Cooper, whatever his name is. Okay, so I'm up to 2 artifacts here. There's gotta be a third one that I can just get, and I just missed it somehow. I'm not the best with names. Oh, hello. Hope I can destroy this. Somehow. It looks destroyable. Perhaps with a different weapon. The obvious next thing to check would be behind the door that requires the sniper rifle. But I don't have that. So maybe I've got to go lead and get it? I did find an extra artifact, which gives me a little bit of, a little bit of confidence that, like, I've explored the bits that I didn't find the first time. I'm gonna go back to that other cold planet. I think I also didn't explore the magma chamber in that other planet, as much as I could have. Like, I made it through, but there was still, like, the entire left-hand side of it. And this was kind of like an either-or thing. This looks like a thing I should be able to shoot. It's got like that big enemy weak point energy to it. Also, can't deny. What up? I kinda didn't parse you for a second there. And he's gone. So, like, presumably there are copies of, like, all the other Hunters stuff around here. I wonder if there's, like, a copy of my power beam. Wait, is this the door that I can open with the magma? There we go. This is probably what I need. I somehow missed that. I think in terms of sheer quantity, getting the electric weapon would open the most doors. Metroid. Genetically engineered from leech and reptile DNA, this creature can crawl on almost any surface. The Quadroid seeks sources of biological energy. The use of a morph ball bomb is the only method free of its grasp. So I guess if you're anybody but Samus and it grabs you, good luck. Olympic War 9. 8 of our elders gathered to create the Olympic Order to prevent Gorea from destroying our civilization. Their final, desperate plan was to create the Seal Sphere. Obviously it didn't work. They should have made a Seal Cube, it would have been way better. Ow, 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 ow. Thank you for the apples. They will keep the doctors away. Oh, thank you for the hydration. Ow. Controlled by a nearby console, this portable security system is placed in close proximity to valuable cargo. The beam emitted by the shock barrier can neutralize all but the most heavily armored intruder. Well, unfortunately, that is me, so... Hey, you're like the, opposite of the thing that I killed earlier to get the other weapon. Arctic spawn. Native to frozen habitats, this creature depends on low temperatures to survive. The Arctic spawn is territorial in the extreme and will attack any perceived threat by hurling immobilizing shards of razor-sharp ice. Enemy recycling isn't that big of a deal. Especially if they got like different mechanics, and it's dead. And there's the sniper, awesome. That opens up a fair number of things. Imperialist. Equipped with a zoom function ideal for precision targeting, the Imperialist fires a thin and lethal laser beam with high accuracy over long distances. I would not describe this game as having had a huge number of like long-distance targets to shoot, but the Imperialist can zoom in on a target, double tap the icon, or press the R button to zoom after aiming the weapon. Okay. You know, back when I played the demo of this game, I liked using the sniper rifle. I don't think I was any good at it, but I liked using it. It looks like that just gets me back here, so... maybe this will get me something exciting. Ship portal activated. There was a red diamond behind a green barrier that you couldn't get through. That's unfortunate. Luckily, I do have what I need to get through green barriers personally, so... I'm sad that didn't splash. Oh, hi. This feels awfully ceremonial. Oh, hi. None of that, please. Always a bold move to include a rail shooter segment. Interesting. Looks like I need to find the right angles to shoot these. There we go. That was pretty cool. I don't think I've ever seen a maze used like that. Well, maze, it was see-through, but still. Missiles, we take this. Activating lift. Yeah, that's just to go back. Hi. Oh, rude. A late model Olympic turret with improved targeting capability. Oh, that's all? Ow. I enjoy the way that these keys just sort of pop into existence. Just no ceremony, like, bang, key, right there. Olympic artifact, and that's the first for this world, I think. So with this laser, I can proceed further into the satellite. There's also those two doors. There's also those two doors on this planet that I can get through now. One which I think just takes me back to the room that I found the laser in, but... And there's another one near that. Ooh, hello. Oh, hi there. I do find it kind of cool how they're all using different weapons. I hope that none of them start using my power beams so that I can just keep using it as a one-size-fits-all solution. before suddenly Dark Samus. Well, yeah, the power beam definitely wouldn't work there. You need the phase-on beam for that. You know, I will say, for being a Prime game, this game has had a surprising lack of phase-on. Oh, do I have to ride this thing all the way back now? Can I activate maximum overdrive and go faster? There's like a weird... There's like a weird sore on my finger. Ow. It's been there all day. It's kind of like I said, it's just not discolored, it's just kind of like slightly painful / itchy to the touch. No discoloration, no breaking of the skin, it's just sort of like a swelling beneath the skin. And hello there. I want that. Yoink. Yeah, not to be ungrateful, but I could kinda go for a energy tank more so than a missile upgrade right about now. Yeah, so this is the room with the 2 exits that were red. I do remember being told that, like, energy tanks in this game are really hard to find compared to most Metroid games. And I feel like I'm suffering the effects of that. Let me out. I want to be in this room standing up. Not sure how to get on top of this room so I could exit through this side. Maybe I'm simply not meant to. I think I'll go back to the, I think I'll go back to the outpost. Because I feel like getting through that door is probably gonna be a big deal. all the, like, incredibly specific weapon requirements, it's kind of fun to think that, like, if all the bounty hunters had just worked together from the start, they could have swept the entire game in, like, 15 minutes. Like, Silex, see her up. Very happy to have found that, though. New game plus playing the game as other hunters. That could be like a fun, either a fun, like, alternate playstyle mode, or just, like, actual full bonus campaigns. Like, not to sass, but I feel like it wouldn't be that difficult to create an extra campaign with the same level of, like, robustness as Samus's. Like, I feel kind of like, just playing with a different character would be all it takes. Just replace, like, their native weapon with the power theme or whatever. Anyway, new area. This is like the most scannable looking thing I've seen all day and I can't scan it. Ooh, Guardians. I found where they're made. And I turn off production. Rude. Temporarily powering nearby computer. Okay. So I have to get back there quickly. Like, within 20 seconds quickly. Alright. Bit of a weird thing to put a timer on, but... I think I got lost. I think I'll just kill everything first. Okay, that's not too bad, I think. I just have to remember that route, which probably won't happen. I like the weird, like, military march, sort of like esque BGM that this gets. Temporarily revealing nearby shield key. Oh, it's like a whole thing. Alright. That's interesting. There we go. That could have been worse. And I think that's the third one that I need. Now I just gotta find the boss portal on this space station. Yeah, I'm just gonna use the power beam. I feel like it's probably too hard to use without the invisibility passive. But I'll just see them friendly fire each other. Oh, these fools. They put themselves into a bottleneck. And it's dead. Interesting. What have we here? Oh, another one? Hold on. Ah, that must have only been the second then. Alright. Unless I've completely lost track of where I am. That's the boss portal, I think. And the last thing was down on the first floor, I think that was. There we are. Oh, thank you for the rotation. And the hydration. Okay, that's kind of interesting. After all of this time with, kind of trying to find any relic here, they just put two of them right next to each other. And it's still actually only the second. I still need a third. Alright. Up and to the left. Now this is interesting looking. This does not feel safe, but it's cool, so that's fine. Is that the first or the second? I think that's the second portal back to my ship. I should probably go and restock, because I'm getting boss fight vibes. Or at least, like, incentive to save your game vibes. I was worried for a second, like, did my game crash? Nope, just spawning me outside. Yeah, so this area is kind of like electrical, so like maybe I'll get the electric weapon in here. That'd be nice. I think I'm only missing 2 weapons, so... each one that I find is like... half of the remaining locked doors out of my way. Silo Levitator, repository for heavy interplanetary warheads held in place by a continual updraft from a high-pressure wind tunnel. I feel like I wouldn't trust intercontinental warheads in a wind tunnel. Energy overflow. Quickly reach the energy overflow shut-off terminal. I have 1 minute to get there. Oh dear. Tempo increasing is, a mean but kind of appreciated touch. .26 seconds to spare. Oh, I spotted a missile expansion. And a key which looks like it's by the last artifact that I need. If I were to speculate. Ow. Psychobit version 3. Similar in design to earlier models, this version fires superheated magma at the target. Missiles for the win. I wonder how all the other hunters feel about the Olympics apparently having ripped off all their weapon systems. Like aeons ago. Oh. Well, that was rude. Is this before or after the energy over... well... just gotta do that again. That's fine, it won't take me a minute. Oh, the electro ball is like a hint where to go. That's kinda cool. I made it here like a full 5 seconds faster than last time. I'm fine. A full 8 seconds faster than last time. I'm extra fine. Okay, now let's do this without falling into space, because apparently that's a one-shot kill. Lockdown deactivated. We'd love to see it. And this is where the stuff is. Including the turrets, apparently. Now, how shall I get back up? That's not too bad, actually. Okay, now that's my third artifact for this one. Portal activated. Long-range thermomagnetic resonance scanners indicate remote and inaccessible chambers. Use the portal to access the inaccessible. So I can go and kill a boss. Nice. Yeah, make an effort not to fall in. All my bones. And here we are. Slunch 4A, the pinnacle of slunch technology. This model employs 3 synapses to transfer supercooled plasma to the energy blasters. The cryogenic projectiles can temporarily immobilize the power suit. So it sounds like I need heat. Did not appreciate that. Luckily I've got tons of ammo, so don't gotta worry about running out of that anytime soon. sure are trying your best. There we go. Sludge 4B. Analysis indicates its shield is down while hovering, but the sludge may be impregnable while rolling. Evasive action advised. Now standing still seemed to work pretty well for me. I might want to farm energy during the next Sludge 4A phase. Even then I've got less than a full tank left. Also, yes, sludge is kind of like a funny word. It's fun to say. Feels like a verb, like to sludge. What do you think the action that accompanies... Or rather, what do you think it means to sledge? Use a plunger on a toilet? I mean, that's just to plunge. Or to plumb, rather. Okay, that's plenty. Little stretch. Twist my back a little bit. Isometric exercise. Care to join me? There we go. Oh, we give her the rotation. Luckily I can fight sludges just fine while rotating. And it's dead. And there's an octolith. Also, wow, I'm short all of a sudden. When did that happen? Oh, I know what's going on here. Hold on, this is because of what I was setting up with my tracking earlier. Hold on, I can fix this. There we go. I'll correct that later. And octolith get. Let me guess, security system's activated, now I have to run away? Telepathic message. Our people are gone, yet we remain. Presumably in spirit. And given how the earlier message... given how the earlier messages that I saw were like, this thing was... devouring everything. And like how the whole thing is like telepathic, and how like... it mentioned how people who were affected by it seemed like empty husks of themselves. I presume it means that like literally their souls are like trapped in the prison with it. souls or minds or whatever you want to call it. No time for you. And given how the security systems have been, like, as far as I can tell, genuinely trying to kill me this whole time, I really don't see why I should be worried about security, like, getting more secure. It's like they really don't seem capable of stopping me. But anyway, I did it. I think we're gonna call it there for the night. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it each and every time. Next scheduled stream is going to be on Wednesday. I haven't decided what game it's going to be yet. Thank you for the hydration. I may or may not stream tomorrow because it's the new Final Fantasy XIV patch, and there's a non-zero chance that one of the bosses is going to be a Fox girl. The odds aren't high, but they're not zero. So maybe I'll stream my reaction to that, who knows. Anyway, yes, thank you so much for joining me, I really appreciate it. Hope you have an absolutely wonderful night. The next time I'm streaming this game in particular is going to be on Friday. Maybe we'll finish it then, maybe we won't, who knows, let's find out. Good night.